What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video on the Fearless Nick YouTube channel. And in today's video, yes, it is that time of year where I go through my AFL season predictions for 2024. Just remember, before we get into today's video, this is just my opinion, so make sure you leave your season predictions down below in the comments, as I'm sure you guys probably know a lot more about the sport than I do. So make sure you comment down below what I've got right and what I have got horribly wrong in today's video. If you do go on to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe. I'm on the road to 500 subs and I'm trying to get there as soon as possible, so a like and sub would be very much appreciated. But anyways, guys, without no further ado, let's get straight on into my season predictions for season 2024. Alrighty, so usually what I like to do in these sorts of videos, especially with the ladder prediction, for the last 2 years now, I have gone through every single AFL team from 18th to 1st and given reasons why I've put them there. But I've never actually shown you my full ladder. So this year, I'm actually going to switch it up. I'm actually going to show you my full ladder, and I'm just going to go through every single team and why I think they will finish there. Alrighties, guys. So as you can see on screen right now, that is my full ladder prediction. So I guess I'll go through the teams one by one like I usually do from 18th to 1st. Kicking it off with my predicted wooden spooners. In 18th place, I have the West Coast Eagles. I think the general consensus is West Coast will finish last again, purely because they haven't really strengthened their list. They did obviously draft the #1 pick in, of course, Harley Reid. Look, I think it's pretty set in stone. I think a lot of people, from what I can see, have got West Coast winning the wooden spoon again in season 2024. Don't get me wrong, I think they will improve. I think they'll win a couple more games this season, but I just don't see that West Coast side improving too much in season 2024. Then I've got North Melbourne finishing in 17th. Now, this could potentially be a controversial prediction. I think a lot of people actually might have North Melbourne slightly rising this year, and for me, I just don't see it. I don't see North rising up the ladder this year. They've gotten a lot younger as a side. They obviously let go of Todd Goldstein, Ben Mackay, Jack Zeeble, and Taron Thomas as well has now left the club. Even though their midfield is absolutely stacked, you look at that back line and you think, geez, you're relying on Aiden Core and Toby Pink as your main key defenders this season. So yeah, with all that said, I think North Melbourne, unfortunately, I think it's going to be another rotten year for them. Look, I could even potentially see them finishing last purely because West Coast actually have a lot more experience on their side. And I tell you what, if West Coast stay healthy, I reckon there's a genuine chance North Melbourne could finish last this season. But I'm going to back in North Melbourne to not finish last. I think their talent is better than West Coast at the moment. And I think North Melbourne, unfortunately, will finish in the bottom 2 again in season 2024. Now moving on to 16th position. Now this is where the ladder starts to get very, very interesting. I reckon between 12th and 16th, it gets very, very close. But in 16th spot, I've got Fremantle. I think, look, again, this could be a little bit harsh. The Dockers do have a lot of young talent on their list as well, just like North Melbourne. But the big question for me is their forward line. How are Fremantle going to kick a winning score every week? If Jai Amos gets injured this season, they're relying on Matt Taberner and Josh Tracy and Sam Sturt to kick their goals this season, which from a neutral perspective isn't very encouraging, if I'm going to be honest. Look, this is one prediction that could come back to bite me. Like if Freo only just miss the top 8, if they finish like 9th or 10th, then I'm going to look like an absolute idiot. But yeah, I just don't see how Freo are going to be able to kick a winning score every week. I think they are destined to slide down the ladder again in season 2024. Then I've got Hawthorn finishing in 15th place in season 2024. Look, this isn't a talent issue with Hawthorn. I think it's more the fact that their injuries, especially to their back line, I think are really going to take a toll on the Hawks this season. We know that Will Day is going to be out for the start of the year. We know that Jaff has got a hamstring issue at the moment. I'm not sure when he'll be back. James Blank has just done his ACL. He's out for the entire season. I tell you what, if Hawthorn lose James Sicily for a big chunk of this season, their backline is going to be in absolute tatters because, yeah, they're not going to have much in terms of key position defence if they do lose James Sicily, that is. But I think at the end of the day, it comes down to fitness, it comes down to experience. And when you look at that young Hawthorn side, they don't have a lot of experience on that side apart from their leaders like Sicily, Gunston and Bruce. And I think it'll just be a bit of a patient year for the Hawks fans again this year. But yeah, I've got Hawthorn just inside the bottom four. I think they will finish 15th. Now moving on to 14th position. And to be honest, I can't believe they're this low. But I've got the Gold Coast Suns finishing 14th. If you did manage to watch my early season predictions video from a couple of months ago, I actually said that Gold Coast would be just outside the 8. And since that video's come out, Gold Coast have played 2 practice matches and they've been smashed both times. They got smashed by Brisbane and they got smashed by GWS. Now, I know both those sides are good teams, but you can't be losing by 40 points to any side, let alone, you know, some of the good sides if you do want to be in finals contention this year. Look, don't get me wrong, Damien Hardwick is a great coach. He's definitely going to get the most out of players like maybe a Charlie Ballard might go to a new level this year. Jack Lukosius looks really good. Alex Sexton as well. He looks like he's in for a big bounce back season as well. But unfortunately for me, I have the Gold Coast Suns in 14th. I don't think they're going to be able to take the big next step towards making finals this season. Then I've got the Richmond Footy Club finishing in 13th place this season. Look, me personally, I think this is about right. I think 13th for me, I think that's about right from where we're at. I think, you know, when you do lose, you know, that amount of experience on your side, such as, you know, the likes of Jack Rewalt, Trent Cotchin, you know, when you lose 2 absolute legends of your footy club the last 12 years, I don't see how you can possibly improve after losing that amount of talent. But yeah, I don't think Richmond will be absolutely awful in season 2024. If you watched my early ladder predictions, I actually had us between 11 and 12. I don't think Richmond will get worse because I think our top end talent is too good for that, but I don't expect us to improve purely because, like I said, we've lost a lot of experience. We're blooding a lot of youth by the sounds of it this year. So I don't expect us to improve, but I don't expect us to slide. Then moving on to 12th spot, I've got Essendon. Now, Essendon, along with the team above them, St Kilda, they are one of the hardest teams to predict when I was doing this ladder prediction. Look, the Bombers, they obviously massively strengthened their list in the off-season, bringing in the likes of Ben Mackay, Todd Goldstein, Jade Gresham and Xavier Dersma. I think those guys will be pretty solid inclusions for their side. I don't think any of them are going to be game changers. We say it all the time with Essendon, you know, they're going to be the side to take the massive leap this season into the top 8. And more often than not, it never happens. So I'm not getting sucked into the trap again. From what I saw, they've actually got a pretty tough fixture to start the year. I think they play Collingwood, Port Adelaide, and then also someone else in there. Oh, Melbourne as well. I don't actually trust Essendon to win 13 games next year. They started the year very well last year. They looked like they were almost a certainty to make finals. And then the second half of the year, they looked absolutely awful. They were very lucky not to lose to West Coast and North Melbourne. I reckon Essendon will finish in 12th spot this season. Moving on to 11th place, I have St Kilda. Now, St Kilda for me, I swear to God, they are always the hardest team to predict when doing these videos. Like, Essendon was hard, but St Kilda was definitely the hardest to predict out of any of these teams. They could literally finish anywhere. I would not be surprised if St Kilda finished as high as 5th or as low as 14th. They have got such a big gap of where they could finish the Saints. It's ridiculous. Look, to be honest, I think we can probably all agree, at least everyone that isn't a Saints fan can probably agree with this. I thought at least that the Saints did overachieve last year. I didn't think they were actually a sixth ranked side. I thought, you know, they had some good performances last year. Yeah, they started the year really, really well. Don't get me wrong. They were playing good footy at the start of the year. But then as well, they had some average performances last year. Like they only just scraped over North Melbourne and West Coast. And I think they lost to Hawthorn as well. And they even lost to us as well. But in terms of my predictions, I predict that the Saints are going to slide this year purely because I think if they have another season where they sort of have these average performances like halfway through the year, I don't think they're going to finish in the top 8 again. I think teams are going to overtake them this year. And I reckon, yeah, the Saints, they're going to sort of slide down to that middle of the road side. I reckon the Saints, unfortunately, will miss out in the finals in season 2024. Now moving on to 10th place. Now this could potentially be my most controversial call of this video. Now I know a lot of people are hyping this team up, but me personally, I'm not buying into the hype at the moment. I've got Sydney finishing 10th. Now, this could be a bit of a controversial call, like I said. But personally, if I look at Sydney's list, yes, they've got a great midfield. Yes, you know, their backline, you know, when it's fit and firing is actually pretty solid. And yeah, Logan McDonald and Hayden McLean might be able to replace Buddy Franklin. But the one problem I have with Sydney is their vulnerability to injuries. So far this year, from the 2 practice matches they've played, Callum Mills, he's out for, I think, a good, I think the first half of the year, I want to say. Luke Parker has broken his arm. He's going to be out for a big chunk of the start of the season as well. And now recently it's come out that Taylor Adams, their new recruit, has also been injured. I think he's got a hamstring injury or something like that. He's in doubt for the first couple of rounds of the season as well. I actually reckon Sydney could be a vulnerable side this year. I know a lot of people are pumping up the Swans, saying they're going to be the top 4 side of this year. They're going to take some massive bounds this year. Me personally, I'm not buying it. I don't think Sydney will be the top 4 powerhouse side that a lot of people are expecting them to be. I think their inclusions of Brodie Grundy, James Jordan, Taylor Adams, and Joel Hamling, they're going to be solid additions, yes, and they're definitely going to shore up the Swans in terms of their spine. I could be way off with this prediction, but I'm actually going to say Sydney actually miss out on the finals in season 2024. Like we know, they were very lucky to scrape in last year, and this year, assuming they get the same injuries that they did last year, I don't think they're going to be as lucky as they were last year. And yeah, I reckon Sydney, surprisingly, will not make the finals in season 2024. And now moving on to the dreaded 9th place. Now, as we know, no one really wants to finish 9th on the AFL ladder because it's pretty much the doomsday scenario if you finish in 9th place on the AFL ladder. You're so close, yet so far away from the finals. And unfortunately, finishing 9th, I reckon in season 2024 will be the Geelong Football Club. I think Geelong will finish 9th in season 2024. To be honest, if I was a Geelong fan, I would take that. I would take that in a heartbeat if Geelong only finished 9th. Because a lot of people, just like what's happening with Richmond, a lot of people are saying that because Geelong are losing more and more experience, that they are going to actually drop down the ladder. And yes, when you lose that amount of experience like Geelong have the last couple of seasons, it's really hard to really improve from that. I am not buying into the fact or the hype that Geelong are going to finish in the bottom 4 this season. I think that's absolutely ludicrous. Obviously, their midfield is the major weakness in that side. Obviously, they've lost a lot of experience in the midfield through the last couple of years. Joel Selwood, Isaac Smith, Mitch Duncan's probably close to the end now as well. Dangerfield, he's still obviously quite a decent player, but he's starting to slow down with age as well. So, yeah, look, Geelong, their midfield is obviously the massive weakness of their side. So, because of that, I don't think they'll be able to stand up to some of the better sides in the competition this year. I'm actually predicting that Geelong will finish higher than Sydney in season 2024. Alrighty, so those were my bottom 10 or bottom 9 predictions for season 2024, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's move on to my top 8 predictions, and we kick things off with 8th place. And for the second year in a row, I have the Western Bulldogs finishing in 8th place. Now, the Dogs, they were so close to making the finals last year. They showed some really good signs throughout patches last season, beating up the likes of Richmond. I believe they beat Brisbane as well. So, yeah, they took some massive scalps last year, the Dogs, but obviously they had a couple of poor performances towards the end of last year, aka that loss to the West Coast Eagles. They've still got one of the best midfields in the competition, the Dogs, easily. Their forward line as well is absolutely stacked to the brim with key position talent like the likes of Aaron Norton, Jamari Ugle-Hagan, Rory Lobb, Sam Darcy. The list goes on. They've still got Tim English, one of the best ruckmen in the league. So there is absolutely no excuse this year for the Dogs to miss the finals. And I believe if the Dogs miss the finals this year, Luke Beveridge, for me, has to be fired, surely. They absolutely cannot miss their opportunity again, the Dogs, with this list. Like I said, I had the Dogs in 8th last year. They only just missed out. They finished 9th last season. So I reckon the Dogs, as long as they stay fit and they maintain, you know, that great brand of footy that we know they're capable of playing, then I reckon the Dogs are a shoo-in to make the finals in season 2024. Then next up, I've got the Adelaide Crows finishing 7th in season 2024. Now, the Crows, they're a real interesting one for me. I think the Crows, they could really finish anywhere. Like, I see a lot of people actually predicting the Crows to be the top 4 bolter this season. You know, as we know, the last couple of seasons, there's always been one side that has come from outside the top 8 into the top 4 the next season. So a lot of people reckon that could be Adelaide this year. I don't reckon they're going to be top 4 purely because their backline now is actually quite weak. Definitely weaker than what it was last year. They obviously let go of Tom Doedee. He went to the Lions. Nick Murray's out with an ACL injury. He's going to miss most of the season this year. So I am very interested to see if the Crows can build off their form that they built last year. Obviously, they were very hard to beat at home, but when they were away from home, they really did struggle to pick up results. In fact, I think they only won one game away from the Adelaide Oval last year. So they really do need to improve their interstate form if they do really want to even make the finals, let alone top 4. But yeah, the Crows I've got finishing 7th. I think they will definitely make the finals in season 2024. Then I've got Port Adelaide finishing 6th. I think Port Adelaide's an interesting one for me. I think they could really finish anywhere this year. I see a lot of people actually saying that Port Adelaide may not even make the finals this year. I think that's going a little bit too far. I think Port Adelaide still have a quality list. They've got some great young talent on their list. As we know, Zach Butters and Connor Rozee, 2 absolute stars of the competition. Jason Horne-Francis definitely had a much improved season last year. I feel like if those top-end talent players in the midfield don't fire, then they could potentially be screwed, Port Adelaide. But let's just assume that those guys do have another really good season this year. Yeah, I think Port Adelaide should make the finals again in season 2024. I don't think they'll be a top 4 side purely because I think there's actually a couple of sides now that have actually gone past Port Adelaide. But yeah, I still definitely expect Port Adelaide to make the top 8 in season 2024. I was nearly going to say the top 4 then. Yeah, I don't think Port Adelaide are going to be a top 4 side this year. They could potentially show signs of being a top 4 side. They'll definitely beat some good sides this year, but I think Port Adelaide will slide a little bit in season 2024. I've got them falling down a couple of spots, finishing in 6th. Then moving on to 5th place, I've got the GWS Giants, just barely missing out on the top 4 in season 2024. Now, the Giants, for me, I expect them to improve a little bit in season 2024. I think they will definitely build off the season that they had last year. And unlike St Kilda, I actually don't think GWS overachieved last year. If they had gone out in week 1 of the finals, then I probably would have said they did overachieve last year. But the fact that they made it all the way to a prelim final and nearly beat Collingwood, in fact, they probably arguably should have beaten Collingwood in that game. I definitely don't think GWS overachieved anymore. I think they are legitimately a chance, maybe not even at the top 4. I reckon they're a legitimate flag contender. I reckon this year, the Giants. I reckon they are definitely going to be able to take the next step this year, the Giants, season 2024. The Giants actually aren't the best home and away side. It's usually in finals when they really turn it on and they look like a premiership quality side. So I don't think they're going to be able to consistently beat the best sides this year, the Giants, and that's what's going to hold them back from really making the top 4 this year. But I definitely expect the Giants to be up there again in season 2024. I don't think they'll slide like a couple of people reckon they will. I reckon last year was a sign of things to come, and I reckon the Giants are going to do big things in season 2024. Alrighty, so geez, now that I look at the top 4, it's pretty much the same as my early ladder predictions video. Brisbane in 1st, Collingwood in 2nd, Melbourne in 3rd, and Carlton in 4th. So I'll start off with Carlton finishing in 4th. Look, I reckon the Blues, a lot of people reckon they might be not as good as maybe what some people are predicting them to be. Others reckon they could be potentially the flag favourites going into this season, which I think is probably taking the hype just a little bit too far. I don't think they're quite the premiership favourites yet, the Blues. But I reckon this is the year that the Blues do take the next step and break into the top 4. Look, to be honest, now that I think about it, there is a chance that the Blues could let me down with this prediction. But I'm going to back it in. I'm going to say the Blues do make the top 4 this year. I could see a world where the Blues do finish about 6th or 7th, or maybe even 8th, just scraping in. But I'm going to back in the Blues to finish in the top 4 in season 2024. I just think with the list they have, there's absolutely no excuse that this team can finish any lower than maybe 6th or 7th. Next up, we've got the Melbourne Footy Club. I've got them finishing 3rd this year. Now, obviously, there's been a lot said about Melbourne. Obviously, their off-field issues. Obviously, Clayton Oliver's had a pretty rough last couple of months. Joel Smith's probably going to be banned for the next 2 years after the drug incident. And then, obviously, as we know, recently, Angus Brayshaw has hung up the boots. Unfortunately, that was a very sad announcement when that came out. But despite all that, I think Melbourne, considering the list they still have, they should be able to be back up in contention this year, the Ds. I know a lot of people are predicting the Ds to dramatically slide this year. I just don't see it because of the list they have. They still have one of the best backlines in the league when it's fit and firing. Their midfield, it all depends on whether, Clayton Oliver can come back and have the impact that we know he can have at AFL level. Yeah, look, I think the Ds will be fine this year. I don't think they'll be the absolute best team in the comp this year, but I do expect them to be right back up in and around the premiership contention. As long as they get the forward line clicking, which is a big if. If they get the forward line clicking, the Ds, then I reckon it's, they're definitely going to be up there again. And I guess that just leaves the top 2, Brisbane and Collingwood. So I've got Collingwood finishing 2nd, and I've got the minor premiers for the 3rd year in a row being the Brisbane Lions. Look, Collingwood, I think they could easily finish top of the ladder again. Obviously, we know the quality that they've got on their list, and we know how good of a coach Craig McRae is. So I definitely wouldn't be surprised if Collingwood finished top of the ladder again. But the only thing is, that damn McStay injury is actually pretty big to Collingwood's structure because they do rely heavily on him and Myercheck. And now that McStay's gone, they're going to have to rely on someone like a Nathan Kruger, a Reef McGuinness, or someone like that to step up. Look, to be honest, I think it will be one of those sides, either Brisbane or Collingwood, who do pinch the minor premiership this year. I think those two are definitely going to battle it out for that minor premiership. But I think Collingwood, I think that injury to Dan McStay, and if they get a couple more injuries like they did towards the back end of last year, I feel like if they get more injuries like that this year, then I don't think they're going to be able to finish top of the ladder again. But that means in first position, once again, I believe for the 3rd year in a row, I've got the Brisbane Lions. This has to be it for Brisbane now. They've got the best list in the competition. They've only gotten stronger from last year, adding Tom Doedee, who was probably one of Adelaide's best defenders last year, obviously before he got injured. Although he's not going to be able to play for the first half of the year, he'll probably come back halfway through the year. And not to mention, they get the likes of Will Ashcroft back at about halfway through the year as well when he recovers from that ACL injury. And I think he's definitely going to provide the spark that Brisbane missed a lot towards the back end of last year. So, yeah, look, as the season goes on, Brisbane, they're only going to get stronger. If it's not now, it's never. Like for the Lions, they have to win the minor premiership this year. And to be honest, they just have to win the flag this year, the Lions. There's absolutely no excuse now. They've got the best list in the comp. And look, as long as they stay healthy, there's absolutely no excuse, like I said, for them not making the grand final, at least, again, in season 20. All right, so that was my entire ladder predictions for season 2024, guys. Now let's move on to the individual awards. I'll start off with my predicted Brownlow medal for season 2024. Now, there's a couple of guys I was thinking for this prediction. I thought of the likes of Sam Walsh. I think he's a sneaky chance. You know, if he stays fit, that is. I reckon Sam Walsh could definitely be up there. Zach Butters as well, if he stays fit. I know he did get injured against Freo, I think, in the practice match. But if he stays fit, you know, and builds off the season he had last year, I reckon he's going to be up there. I do like Errol Goulden as a shout for the Brownlow. You know, I guess if Sydney do really well this year, he's definitely going to be up there like he was last year. Petrarca's always up there. Bond, I think, obviously, he was very stiff last year not to win it. But in the end, I'm going with probably the obvious prediction. But look, I think it just has to be this year. As long as he stays fit, I believe Nick Dacos will win the Brownlow medal in season 2024. I was nearly going to go with Sam Walsh, like I said, because I feel like, unlike Nick Dacos, Sam Walsh probably isn't going to have a lot of other players take votes off him other than maybe Cripps or Chera or players like that. Whereas Nick Dacos is contending with, you know, Pendlebury and Mitchell and his brother Josh as well. So Nick Dacos, there's definitely going to be competitiveness for votes, but I believe as long as he stays fit, I reckon Nick Dacos will win the Brownlow medal in season 2024. Now moving on to the Coleman medal. Now, this is a prediction I usually get wrong, and I don't know why. I just have really bad luck when it comes to predicting this medal. I just never seem to get it right. Charlie Curnow, as we know, has won the last two Coleman medals. But this year, I don't think Charlie Curnow is going to win it. I think he might actually quietly just have a down season this year. Look, Tom Lynch, if he stays fit, that's a big if. I reckon he could be a shout. Jeremy Cameron, if he finds his form back, could potentially be up there. But look, to be honest, I really can't go past this man, considering the season he had last year. I'm going with Nick Larkey to win the Coleman medal in season 2024. My oh my, what a season this man had last year. I think he kicked over 70 goals last year in a side who won about 3 games last year as well. That was a tremendous effort. Yeah, look, I reckon Nick Larkey, assuming North Melbourne win a couple more games this year, I reckon Nick Larkey will win the Coleman medal in season 2024. Yeah, look, he's proven himself as an absolute superstar key forward, and I can't really go past him because he's just entering the prime of his career, and he's looking like an absolute freak going into this season. So, yeah, Nick Larkey for the Coleman. For my rising star, now I did say I would mention this guy later in the video. I could be a boring bitch and just go for Harley Reid, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going with North Melbourne youngster Colby McKercher. He just looks like an absolute freak. I was watching the North Melbourne and Collingwood match sim last week, and he just looks like an absolute freak. Like, the way he uses the ball is just incredible. I think if he can, you know, kick it into the forward line to Nick Larkey, I think those two are definitely going to be very scary for the opposition to defend. So I'm actually going to go with Colby McKercher for the rising star. I think he's the most complete player at the moment. I think Harley Reid will become the best player from this draft eventually in time. But right now, I reckon Colby McKercher is the best player from last year's draft. So I'm going to back in Colby McKercher to win the rising star for North Melbourne this season. And finally, my predicted premiers for season 2024. Now, again, I usually don't get this right. I think the last 2 seasons I've predicted Melbourne to win the flag. Look, I kind of already hinted towards it in my ladder predictions a couple of minutes ago. Look, if this team doesn't at least make the grand final this year, it's an absolute failed season. So my predicted premiers for season 2024 will be, drumroll please, the Brisbane Lions. The Brisbane Lions, for me, they're going to take out the premiership in season 2024. Like I said, they've got the best list on paper, without a doubt. Like I said, every other team around them from last year, I believe, will actually either slide or, in my opinion, have actually gotten weaker since last season. And when I look at Brisbane's list, they haven't gotten weaker. They've only gotten stronger, if anything. So, yeah, I believe it's almost a bit of now or never for the Lions. They really have to win the flag this year, otherwise they may have missed their chance. My predicted premiers for season 2024 will be the Brisbane. There we go, guys. Those were my official AFL season predictions for season 2024. I know this was probably a very long video, so yeah, I'm sorry you had to listen for, what, a good 20 or so minutes. Yeah, look, it's always a long video, this sort of predictions, but I do like going into detail about why I reckon every team will finish in a certain position and giving my thoughts on every team going into this year. Like I said at the start of the video, remember to comment down below your season predictions for this year. I'm super excited that footy's back. Look, I'm going to try my best to upload as frequently as possible. No promises. Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff going on in the background at the moment, so I'm going to try my best to absolutely get as many videos out as possible, but no promises that I can upload every week, unfortunately. But if you did go on to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe. Like I said, comment down below your predictions for this season, down below in the comments, and comment down below where you reckon your team will finish and how well your team will go this year. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and until next time, I'll see you in my next video. Cheers!